give your opponent a compliment. Instead of sending hate mail, try as you're playing, going like, damn, you played well. That was nice. Sometimes you get outplayed, and it's very important for your mental, in my opinion, or as a person, to be able to compliment someone else. What's up, guys? TheMainManSWE here, hoping you're all doing awesome as always. Just got a question here in the chat from Mr. Dreadscore. Any tips on how to deal with rage while playing Tekken? And fittingly, I actually saw a thread on Tekken Reddit this morning where it was actually a pretty productive thread. Was cool to see. Community helping each other out, but someone had posted like, oh my god, how do you deal with rage in this game? I get so angry playing Tekken. This game fills me with anger like no other game. I've touched upon this before, like IRL friends of mine who have tried Tekken and they feel it's more rage-inducing than any other competitive game they've played. They've played a lot of like Dota 2, they've played StarCraft, they're boomers, they've played Counter-Strike. They still find like Tekken is the most rage-inducing game. And I just want to quickly explain to you why this game will make you angrier than maybe, say, Street Fighter 6. The thing with Tekken is that it can get extremely scrubby and it can get extremely cheesy. I can't think of many other games where someone who is significantly worse than you can beat you. And that's just not a fun feeling to have when you play a competitive game. You've spent 1,000 hours in this environment and you can lose to someone with 50 hours. Is that ever gonna feel good? When someone goes, and just fucking smokes you in 1 second. This happens way less in Street Fighter, or most competitive games, I think. And it's so simple to explain why. 32 characters, right? And the characters have, on average, 100 fucking attacks. Kazuya is at 97, but there are characters who have like 200 moves. And then a character you are not familiar with shows up and starts doing shit like this, right? Shit like this. And you just have no clue what's going on with this character, and you lose. And it's very interactive, like you have no time to really absorb or react to all of this. It's just they get in your face and just bombard you with shit. You have no clue what's going on and you feel completely powerless. And some guy who's just doing this is fucking smoking you, even though you have 1,000 hours. And yeah, it's just friends of mine who never really rage in games have been throwing controllers playing Tekken. Because they go online and it's some fucking thing where you're just going like this and it's like, oh shit, I don't know this matchup, and you just get fucking smoked. It's very easy to cheese in this game. And that's something Leffen said in his review of Tekken 7 many years ago that was a really good point. And I fully agreed. He was like, this is the cheesiest fighting game I've ever seen. And it is. It's because it's so full of knowledge checks. Yesterday I played against an Asuka who did a 10-hit combo. I very rarely see Asuka. I've never seen that 10-hit. Do you know how much Tekken I've played in my life? I've never seen that 10-hit, and it turns out the last 2 hits is a can, you know, her 14-frame launcher, and it didn't need counter it to launch. So I just blocked the 10-hit, and here comes the can, and it launches me for huge damage. And it's just like, how did I lose a round? How did I lose a round just now in Tekken 8? Due to a 10-hit I'd never seen before. That is not a good feeling. I can assure you it's not a fun feeling. Or when you go up against a Zafina and she does her 10-hit and you're like, what the hell is this? And then you get wall splatted into wall combo. It's just this knowledge check. Have you seen this before? Where players can just empty this huge bag of tricks, just throw your way, and if you haven't seen it, you lose. The reality of Tekken is that it can get really, really cheesy. And that's something you have to accept with this game. But then comes, you know, the thing where when you do learn to deal with that stuff, you feel like a god. You know, when they start doing their flow charts and you're like, oh, I've seen this trick before. And he dies immediately. And you know he just shot himself because he's like, what? No one's ever blocked that before or ducked that high before. And then you destroy his entire existence because he's like, but that was my bag of tricks. And he looks down and he's like, he has nothing else. And now he's in your world, right? You know his tricks. And you have 10 times stronger fundamentals because he relied on tricks. His pants are down. And he's like, oh no, please. And you win. Easy. It's just that, yeah, there's a lot of bullshit in this game. But when you learn that bullshit and you come out on the other side, you've just mastered one of the hardest games out there. And it's very fulfilling. Feels good. It's just a fact that you can lose in this game to someone playing Alyssa, Xiaoyu, Yoshi, and they have like a defensive stat of like 50, 40, which is not very impressive. All they don't know any matchup in the game. And they don't really know fundamental basics of Tekken. But what they do know is a couple of strong flowcharts and strings on their character that are hyper effective in shutting you down, never giving you a turn, and then they don't have to worry about what your character can do. Because it's the Alyssa show. Bzz, 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 bzz. And they can actually climb really high with this. But their problem is when they encounter that player I mentioned that has seen this shit enough times before and has strong defense. This game can be super rage-inducing, and it just helps you if you want to keep playing Tekken, just accepting that this is a factor with the game. And it's going to take a lot of patience and a very strong mental to improve in this game. If you find yourself like super angry, like you just start playing and within 5 minutes you're tilted, you're not in a good mental space. You need to take a break. This is where it actually helps a lot of people to take like a week-long break and then come back and see if you're doing better now than when you played it daily and you got tilted. What's really gonna help in the end is just accepting the nature of the game. You are going to run into characters where you don't know the matchup. It could be Nina, and here you should greatly lower your expectations. You should accept that, fuck, I don't know this matchup, that's a highly oppressive character. In fact, that is the most oppressive character in the game. I might get blown up here. Maybe if I focus here, I can start to understand at least some of the stuff she throws my way. If you learn to play against like one scrubby style Nina, you'll know most scrubby Ninas, because they typically don't do anything original. They typically all love the exact same strings. So you'll see this, you'll see spamming this armor move, which is -14, which is super good to know. They spam this all the time, they spam this all the time, and they spam this all the time, or stuff like this. And the thing is, if you conquer your first scrubby Nina, you've conquered most scrubby Ninas. Commit yourself, you know, to like trying to learn as much as you can anytime you play the game. You can improve really quickly. It's just that if you don't have that mental state, you're just going to get increasingly more tilted. This is unfair, this is bullshit, and God knows we've all been there. You're not alone. God knows I've been there a million times. A million times, so I know exactly what it's like. You feel powerless, and it's like, this fucking idiot's just spamming shit, fuck this game, unfair garbage, fuck you, cheese character. If you can just try and relax, try to let go of that emotion, you'll improve so quickly. Being tilted is the biggest like detriment to you ever becoming good at anything, really. And certainly it's gonna hold you back in Tekken, Dota, Counter-Strike, etc. As soon as you get emotional, you're not learning. As soon as you dismiss something as bullshit and cheese, you've already made up your mind in your head that I'd rather just dismiss this rather than counter it. Once you're tilted to that extent, you've already lost. I almost want to mention LTG here, to be honest. It's like when I watched some footage of him playing Tekken 8, and again, I played against him, and it's like, he actually has some patience when he plays. It's like when I watch him play, it's like he could be a pretty good player, I think. It's just that any time he plays the game, no matter what his opponent throws against him, he's like, bullshit, that's garbage, fuck that shit. And he'll even eat like the same string several times in a row. And I'm just like, if he just focused a little bit and paid attention to what his opponent is doing, he certainly has the skill to counter it. It's just that as soon as you get that tilted, you stop thinking. You dismiss everything as garbage, you drop focus in the match, you start not recognizing your opponent's super obvious patterns. You're just your greatest enemy at that point. I just wanted to send out a bit of empathy and relatability in that a lot of people get giga tilted playing this game, and you're not alone. It's super common. I've gotten super tilted playing Tekken. All you're doing is hindering yourself with the tilt. And God knows, easier said than done, not getting tilted. I would just say, if you're giga tilted after 5 minutes, you need a hardcore break. Be it a week, 2 weeks maybe. Come back with fresh eyes. And then after that break, try to implement what I said, and that I'm going to learn. And I'm going to understand that most of the cheese in this game is super counterable. And that no matter the character you play in this game, you can hit the highest rank. Absolutely, you can do it. It feels really good when you counter the cheese. Super satisfying. And once you've learned to counter the cheese, it will always be there with you. Anytime you see someone else trying to replicate that bullshit, you'll beat them. I can't think of a competitive game that can get as frustrating as this game due to how fast-paced it is, how many moves you're on the lookout for, like 10,000. And it's like an absurd amount of attacks you're on the lookout for. I had like the worst mental when I played like Tag 2, but I mean, it took me a while, but I think I have a very good mental these days, and it's really served me well. I don't know if I would want to keep playing Tekken, if I was super frustrated all the time. Try to think a little bit about what you're trying to do with the game. If you can get rid of that tilt, you'll have so much more fun. So much more fun, and you'll learn so much. It's just that you have to cross that gap, which can be difficult. The last thing I want to say is also that you're not entitled to winning. I think this is also a problem for a lot of people. You are not entitled to winning. And you're not as good as you think you are. And this applies to all of us. We have that small or big ego inside of us where it's like, if I ever lose, it's because some fucking bullshit went on this match. Sometimes we actually get outplayed. The most fun example of this, in my opinion, is the amount of people who are angry about Brian. He's mashing country launchers and I lost! I'm just like, you realize you have to press into this for this to launch you. That's what a counter-hit launcher is. Counter-hit launching is defensive utility. Bill, wait. Okay, he's gonna mash now. Boom. So sometimes we maybe have to give credit where credit is due. That Asuka player timed his back three super well and he fucking launched me. Maybe that's just not a brain-dead garbage button. He actually placed that well. Give your opponent a compliment. Instead of sending hate mail, try as you're playing, going like, damn, you played well. That was nice. Because not everyone is an Alisa spamming chainsaws with 40 defense. Sometimes you get outplayed, and it's very important for your mental, in my opinion, or as a person, to be able to compliment someone else. Right? It's also something you can practice if you don't do it. Very good, like, oh shit, nice read. Blocked my hell sweep, fucking launched me. Well played. Also something good to recognize when we lost because we got outplayed. That's also very healthy to be able to do.